Hey guys, it's Finley from Food Corps. Today we're at Avella Orchard here in LeGrand. Let's go take a look.
My name is Danae and I've been here for 9 years now, and we're just delighted to be here. It's such a unique, interesting place with these amazing trees and history and ancient lineages. It's sort of like having a library and an ark and a whole pantry full of food all in the same place. But I grow primarily a mix of fruit and nut trees. So we have apples and European pears and Asian pears, European plums and Asian American plum crosses. We have apricots and we have mulberries and we have filberts and walnuts and chestnuts and let's see, did I leave anybody out? Quince, of course. And so a lot of very interesting different fruit trees and nut trees. Knowledge that I can share and inspiration that I can share with the young people who come to work in the orchard with me here. That's the most important thing we do here. Patience, kindness. Trees are incredibly kind and generous. To pay attention, to look around me, to always ask questions. Why is that bird doing that? What happened to those leaves? What's burrowing in the ground over here? Or what is that coming up from the ground over there? So just to always be asking questions and looking around and trying to learn more. Right now I do a small, what's called a CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. Back in the 1930s, a man named Mr. Ryan and his wife Betty started planting trees here. Mr. Ryan was a nurseryman, so he planted one of everything. He loved fruit trees, he loved experimenting, he was a grafter, so he would go around to pioneer homesteads and graft trees from there to here. So there's quite a variety here. Then the people who followed after him kept adding to it. So it's really quite an amazing place. He was also a very early organic gardener, so there were never any heavy-duty poisons here. This has never been, there's no arsenic, there's no lead, there's none of the usual poisons you would find in an old orchard. So we were thrilled to find this place and to continue the tradition on. So this is not like most fruit places or orchards that you would find. It's more like a forest. On 2.5 acres, we have over 200 different fruit and nut trees. A lot of them very old varieties. Some of them the only ones that I know of grown anywhere. Some of the ones he got from local homesteads. And that we're also working on making it pollinator friendly for bees and butterflies, bird friendly, and of course the deer are welcome here as well. So you can see the browse line on where the deer browse up on the leaves here. You can see where they browsed up. These are hazels. These are Peace River hazels. Like I said, Mr. Ryan and the people who followed him were experimenters. Peace River hazels are a cross between a European filbert and a native hazel from the Peace River area of the Okanagan. And so each one of these is different. Each one of these has a slightly different nut. We talked about the hazelnuts. Those are a really good food source. This is a summer Bloodburn Pear. It's a small pear. It has red flesh, and it's an early summer pear. It dates back to the 1600s. People have been growing this pear since the 1600s. And then you can see that we plant herbs and flowers around the base for the pollinators, for the bees and the butterflies. This is one of the ones that Mr. Ryan grafted from a tree up on the Tollgate highway. Alexander is an old Russian apple. It's a big apple. And unlike most apples, if you plant the seeds, they don't come true. But with the Russians, you tend to get trees coming true to seed. So if you planted the seeds of this apple, you'd probably get a very nice big apple. Gumi, which is a nitrogen-fixing shrub, gumi, and has a little red berry on it in the summer. That's really quite tasty. It has a big pit though. But the robins also love it, as well as people enjoying it too. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to add the shrub layer now to the orchard here. And that's a grape that is going to eventually grow up into the apricot. And then the gumi will be here feeding the apricot nitrogen. It's called an Angiers Quince. And you can see that it's fuzzy and it's hard. It's not like an apple or a pear. It's somehow a little bit different from both there. And quince used to be that every pioneer homestead had a quince tree, because before you had pectin to make jellies and jams be stiff enough to eat like that, you would use quince to thicken up the fruit juice to jelly or jam. The word marmalade is based on the Portuguese word for quince, which is marmelo. So a classic marmalade would have quince in it to help gel everything together. Quince can be added to apples, anything you make with pears, anything you make with apples, crisp pies, cider, juice, sauce, and it adds a wonderful flavor. They're also beautifully scented, and you can just use them as an air freshener. In other parts of the world, they've cut them very thin, dry them, and use them for a winter tea, particularly for sore throats and coughs. So it's an amazing old tree, Angiers Quince. We made a choice here to plant trees primarily on what's called standard rootstock or seedling rootstock, so that they will be long-lived, and that your great-great-great-grandchildren could come here and eat apples from these trees. That's our plan. This had started as a different project, but when we fenced it off and the deer kind of ignored it, this little shrubby bush, just like a little seedling there, came up. Turns out it has amazingly delicious little plums on it. They're bright red inside and kind of mahogany colored outside, and very sweet and flavorful. So we call that plum a faith plum, because it's having faith in how nature takes care of us. This is our Oak Haven apple. This was a seedling that somebody planted, but it came up to be a beautiful, wonderful, delicious apple that the children of Oak Haven Preschool voted their favorite apple. So we named it after their preschool for them. There are two large branches going up here. These are the original tree. It resprouted these branches that grew up. So we now have Esopus Spitzenberg apples, which were Thomas Jefferson's favorite apple. Each of these trees is a story. It's a story of someone who knew it and loved it and took care of it. So this was Thomas Jefferson's favorite apple, Esopus Spitzenberg. It's a nice, beautiful, big red apple. Very juicy, very flavorful. So fourth graders, if you were here, I would be asking you who would eat the tree. So I think you know what four-footed things come through here and have huge appetites in the fall. Over here, you can see where it's all been rubbed raw. Have you ever watched deer in the fall with their antlers, when their antlers start getting itchy and they start rubbing up against things? And yep, sometimes they even break them over and down. So we do lose trees sometimes because of that, but it's still worth it for us to have the deer here. We want this to be a place where all four-footeds are welcome, as well as the two-footeds. So apples come in all different sizes and shapes, all different colors, all different flavors. Some are good for cooking with, some are good for fresh eating, some are good for drying. So there's a lot here. This is Rhode Island greening, and it's an apple that's used a lot in pies and in cooking. It's very hard, a very crisp, hard apple. So unless you really like a really crunchy apple, I wouldn't suggest eating this one fresh. But it is good if you like crisp apples.
I like the donut shape to it, sort of flat and round. Like Oh wow, yeah.
Rhode Island greening is one of the oldest American apples. It was grown in the 1600s in the first settlements on the East Coast. The original Rhode Island greening tree lived for 450 years. This is White Winter Pearmain, and it's another really amazing apple. This apple has been grown since before the time of the Norman invasion of England, before 1066.
Oh. That's
Very sprightly.
really different. And you're right, yeah, really tangy almost.
Dwarf trees only live to about 25 to 30 years, and these were planted back in the 1970s. So they're all starting to die out now. That's another reason that I plant on the standard rootstock. That tree, the blue pearmain, should live for 300 years. This is what I call the Van Gogh apple. It's just got so many different colors. And what it is, this is called Hawkeye, and it is the ancestor of Red Delicious. So this is the apple that would become that solid gold or solid red, apple you see in the store.
Wow, great colors for sure. Yeah.
Each one is different, it's like tiny pink.
Wow.
And that's what a delicious is supposed to taste like the Hawkeye.
Wow.
Okay, so sometimes there's fruit that we can't reach. Sometimes there's fruit that gets calving moth damaged, and so it gets soft and drops. When that happens, and it splits on the ground here, then the bees can come in and get food from it, from the ground here, from the soft broken fruit. See? And there's a yellow jacket there, so you don't want to get too close. So part of my plan for helping the orchard into the future as we go into the uncertainties of climate change is I planted a bunch of different honey locusts around the orchard. These will grow up. You can see there's a honey locust way in the corner there. They get really tall, and they will help protect the trees underneath, all these fruit trees. They'll help protect them from hail, and they'll help protect them from getting too cold too fast or getting too hot in the summer.
Well, thanks so much, Danae. That was so wonderful to learn about what you're doing here, and thank you for showing us around and taking your time.
It was a pleasure and a privilege to have you come visit.
Cool. Stay tuned for more virtual farm tours in Union County. We'll see you later.
Hi guys, it's Jamie from OSU Extension. Today I'm going to show you how to make apple sandwiches from the apples we found at the farm. Always wash your hands before cooking. All you need for this quick recipe is an apple, peanut butter, raisins, and sunflower seeds or any kind of nut or seed that you'd like to add to it. You always want to wash your fruit before eating it. First thing we're going to do is cut the apple in half. And we're going to make nice little slices. We're going to make a little V and cut out the core. Then we're just going to take a little bit of peanut butter. Smear it onto one side. a few raisins. And then I thought sunflower seeds would be good on this. Just like that. This is something you can do on your own. This would be a great snack for after school. So good.